Hi, I'm Greg Benz. I'm a landscape and cityscape photographer based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. And in this video, I want to show you how you can take a high megapixel camera like the Nikon D800, D810, or the newer Canon cameras, new Sonys that have very high megapixel counts and get absolute maximum detail out of them. Because if you have the slightest bit of shake in your tripod or your camera, then you're not getting the maximum detail out of these cameras. So you might as well be shooting with a 12 or 20 megapixel camera if you don't take the right steps to make sure you're capturing all that detail. So first thing we need to have is sharp focus. That's going to start with getting your focus locked. So once you've got your focus locked on the subject, you can do a couple things. You can switch over to manual focus mode in the camera. You can manually focus, or you can autofocus and then switch to manual, but that will lock the focus down. That's one option. Another option, and the one that I use all the time, is to actually use what's known as back button focus, the AF on button or autofocus on button in the back of professional and prosumer cameras. Some models you can reprogram the auto exposure lock button on the back to do this, but essentially you can focus by using that back button, and when you do that, you can then set it where the shutter button will not refocus the camera. And on the Nikon D810 that I'm using here, the way you do that is you go to the autofocus menu setting here, go down to A4, which is the autofocus activation, and turn it to AF on only. The other option would focus with either the shutter button in front or the AF on button. I'm setting it so that only the AF on button will refocus the camera. And that's critical because now I can take a picture without refocusing the camera. So that just gives me the control to independently focus and shoot, and that just gives me the best possible focus. So I love that, especially when I'm shooting portraits and other fast-moving subjects. I might want to lock in focus once and keep shooting when I recompose, but with landscapes, also critical, so I'm not refocusing between shots. So once we've got good focus, the next piece, we'll have to make sure that we don't have vibration coming from the camera and tripod. So first, it's critical that you have the right tripod. So the tripod that I'm using here is a really right stuff tripod. It's an excellent tripod. They're fairly spendy. You can get cheaper tripods that'll do some of what I love about this one, and that is it does not have a center post. That is, there's no ability to raise the camera above this top platform, unlike the other tripod I have here, which does have this center post. This is the Velbon Carmagny. A lot of tripods out there have this to give you extra height. The height can be nice, but that center post causes a lot of vibration. It's not a stable way to mount the camera. Even when that center post is all the way down, there's a lot of vibration. Now you can get rid of it if you hang weight off the center column, not some other part of the tripod, but actually off the center column itself. However, I strongly advise not using any tripod that has a center column. I would much rather get a tripod with longer, taller legs than an adjustable height center column. They're okay in a pinch, but you're definitely going to give up some quality with that kind of a setup. So once we've got a solid tripod, the next piece will be shake that comes internal to the camera. It can come in a couple forms. One is the initial mirror lockup that occurs before you take the shot, and you can prevent that vibration by either using the mirror lockup mode on your camera, which I'm showing here, or the other way you can approach it is to use an exposure delay mode. Now, if you're shooting with the Nikon D810, the way you get to that is under the shooting and display menu, the D menu here, and we can go to this exposure delay mode and we can choose 1, 2, or 3 seconds. A lot of cameras have started to include this. The beauty of this is it automatically opens or lifts up the mirror, waits the preset time, and then takes the shot. And that means that you don't have to click the shutter twice to take the shots, which is kind of nice if you're trying to automate a sequence for like an HDR. It's also nice if you don't happen to have a remote shutter cable with you, like the one you see here, then there's really no point using mirror lockup, because if you're using your hand to activate the shutter, then you're shaking the camera with your hand. So unless you have remote release, mirror lockup really isn't all that helpful. So, and then lastly, and this is more specific to the Nikon D810, but some modern cameras, this may be the only one actually, have the electronic front curtain shutter, and you can enable this here. So what this does is, after you've done the mirror lockup, the actual shutter is still a moving part, and by enabling this front curtain shutter, it will open and have a small delay before it actually takes the image. So that'll avoid some vibration that actually comes from the shutter itself. So with all those different settings, I find that that gives the absolute best possible resolution that you can get out of the camera, and pretty significant difference with and without these. So highly encourage that. The last thing I'd say is make sure you're using a really good lens. The sensor on your camera is only as good as the quality of the light you're putting on it. So you need to have a high quality lens. Shoot it in an aperture that's ideal for the camera, something like an f8, f11. That's going to give you the best quality image. So right lens, right aperture, tripod without a center column, and using the mirror lockup and the other advanced modes in your camera give you that best quality image.